With layoffs and AI disruption and constant change, fear has started creeping back into work culture, and some leaders are finding it a bit of a paralyzer. Others are seeing it as a motivator. So when fear starts showing up in your team, how do you stop it from freezing forward progress? So should we be treating fear as a signal to slow down, or can it actually be a fuel to better innovation?
I'll begin with my favorite response. It depends. I think so. Here's how I think of fear. I think fear is both a filter and a force. I think
Mm,
it can definitely catalyze clarity, because some people's response to fear is, I need to get super focused, and it'll catalyze that clarity. For others, it will cause them to freeze. So I call that like calcifying caution. But I think the real tension here is that most organizations treat fear as a signal to retreat, like
yeah.
pump the brakes, stop, let's not do this, let's go back to what we usually did. But I think that the most transformational leaders see fear as a strategic signal. It's a cue that something meaningful is at stake. Just like whenever we get nervous before a big presentation or performance, for me, I tell my sons, that's an indication that you care, and it's going to cause you to prepare all the more for what you're about to undertake. So I think in my work with founders and executives, I definitely have seen that innovation rarely dies from bad ideas, but it does die from unresolved fear. And I think whether it's the fear of losing control, or if it's the fear of looking foolish, or of risking your reputation, for them, I think the cost is not naming those fears, is far greater than the cost of the failure itself. And so I think for me, I think that the final takeaway for me is leaders have to learn how to coach fear, not avoid it. I think because our organizations are only as innovative as our leaders are courageous. And I will tell you that a lot of the work that I've done with the Fortune 100s and even some of the Fortune 10s are that there is a lack of courageous leadership. And we're talking about a frictionless society or experience with some of the AI tools that we have, where people want to remove friction. And, organizations like Netflix, where they talk about radical candor, I think these are the things that we need to invite, obviously within reason and within guidelines and psychological safety. But I think that we definitely, I see a huge opportunity for courageous leadership here, people standing up for what they believe is right, not for them, but for the organization, and be willing to take pushback and invite pushback, because I think actually inviting pushback is a way for people to be heard, for people to ask questions, for messages to be clarified. And I've seen more often than not that inviting pushback and responding accordingly makes it actually, you can actually create proponents for anything more than you will instigate opponents. So I think it does depend, but I think it can be both.
It's also very hard sometimes to differentiate between being really scared or being just nervous and excited, because the symptoms are the same. And I think excitement can help you to really fuel innovation, because it feels expansive, right? Whereas if it's really fear and anxiety that you feel, then it kind of shuts you down. And for me, at least, that's how I see it. It just closes off your complete holistic perspective to just the thing in front of you. So I'd say that definitely transparency by the leaders is key. It doesn't help if we just not talk about the fear that there is. And the fear definitely is by many of the people out there that they're going to be fired, to be jobless, to not have any jobs anymore, or no income, no purpose in their lives. And yes, leaders have to address it, but they shouldn't only address it, they should also provide a system change and a solution to it. Because I have heard some leaders of bigger companies saying on stage that, every company should just hire 2 people for 1 position, but both people just working half time and receiving the same salary because AI is doing the job for them. Well, but I know that, for example, that CEO that I'm talking about is doing the opposite, firing all the people. I'm not going to say who it is, but I think there are many of these people that are saying the one thing and doing the other. And this is something that, I think we really have to look at influencing and convincing the individuals, which are also the leaders and the ones taking decisions, to really care for the societal implications. Because yes, we might be somehow generating more money. The question is, what happens with the money? So I was thinking about this. Yes, in the next decades, in real life experiences will be more valuable. That's, well, one hypothesis, right? So in real life services will also be more valuable, maybe more costly and more pricey. But then, of course, I could now tell my sister, for example, who's 9 years younger than I am, oh, all right, then go and do whatever you need to do to gather those people and offer services like meetups in person, do your energy work or body therapy thing. But then the question is, where do the people that would like to attend that get the means from to actually pay for those services that will be more valuable if they don't have the jobs in the other fields of business? So again, it is nice that that the companies will generate more money. But then in the end, the question is, where does the money come from if no one had the means to pay for them, even us as consumers? So either we address it before it actually escalates, or we will see a little crumbling of our system, of the current one. Or not, it's a good thing. I don't know. But yeah.
So I think I would always say that fear always means growth. I mean, I know that it can make you anxious, but I think we always sit in this place where if it is comfortable, then that's what our brains enjoy, and when it is something that's, a driving force or something that we're motivated by or scared by, it can feel very difficult not to get consumed by it. But in terms of the question, when it comes to people being frightened or having fear of losing their job, I do think that it is a really big motivator. It can encourage fresh thinking. It can encourage new innovative ideas or ways of working. And I do think that if people are fearful of having their jobs replaced by AI systems like we're talking about today, it could potentially be a responsibility of the leaders to strip everything back and start with a more personal approach, because we are using so much technology that's coming in, but we do have to remember that we're still human beings and still need, that level of support, that level of communication. We still need to be supported by our leaders as well. And I think it's really important to remember that it's people centric first, and AI has come along obviously to help us along the way, but I think that's where the fundamentals lie. It's, we're all human beings and need the same support as we always have, regardless of what new technology is coming forward.